With the biggest and the most buzzing business news of the day, I'm Vikram Oza here on this edition of Business at 9 on ET Now. Hello and a very, very warm welcome. We're looking at this blooming controversy. The Maldives in the crosshairs of Indian celebrities and government supporters. All of it happening after some Maldivian officials have targeted the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his visit to Lakshadweep. Indians are showing patriotism on social media. They are vowing to boycott Maldives. Indeed, Indian tourists in the Maldives, they're number one on that list of visitors to the country, to the island nation, the Indian Ocean island that is very popular with tourists. But the president of Maldives, Muizzu's government, has come to power on an allegedly anti-India plank. So these developments don't come as a real surprise. And the Maldivian president is in China. He's on a 5-day state visit there. So what's happening in India's backyard? Let's find out. Suresh K Goel is former ambassador. He's joining us on this edition of Business at 9. Great to have you with us, sir. This evening, we are discussing this growing controversy. And of course, as far as today's developments are concerned, we are looking at the possibility of Indian tourism getting a leg up, and I'll come to that in a moment. But Indian diplomacy, Mr. Goel, in the neighborhood has been vital to this government, and the island nation of Maldives has always found a friend in India. Tell us, in your opinion, what explains the diplomatic standoff between the two countries and the manner in which it is getting addressed by the centre here?
Good evening, first of all, to you, Vikram, and to the audience, to the channel. And now, I think we need to look at how the government in Maldives has changed and what we know about the current president as compared to the president before Muizzu became the president. Clearly, there is a thinking here, supported by the statements made by Muizzu and before that Nasheed, that while Nasheed had taken a friendly attitude towards India, Muizzu is more pro-China, and as evidenced by the fact that he has already asked Indian military assets who were there actually to manage some of the platforms which Maldives had asked for, which were present over there, Navy and the Air Force platforms, that he has asked for those personnel to be withdrawn, and we do not know how those platforms will be actually managed or maintained if the Indian personnel are not there. Therefore, clearly, Muizzu has, I will not say pro-China, anti-India or whatever, but the situation is not same as it used to be earlier when the relationship between India and Maldives were comfortable and close. We do expect a change in the relationship now. And what is happening now, the comments coming from the ministers on Prime Minister Modi's visit to Lakshadweep is a reflection of that. And I've seen some of the tweets myself, and they were actually quite derogatory to both Prime Minister and the Indian community by calling the stinking rooms, not having enough resource. So they were trying to run the Indian tourism down, really. So I think from that point of view, it was necessary to let Maldives know that India does count, that Indian tourism does count, and therefore that Maldives does need to maintain that even keel of relationship with India, even if it is not same as before, but it cannot really be derogatory towards India. How far it has gone and how far it to go is a different matter, really. I think we will need to have some kind of a balance eventually as it evolves. But for the time being, Maldives had to understand that there are sensitivities on the Indian side and that they cannot be completely disrespectful of those sensitivities.
Well, this, by and large, Maldives would have expected, and those controversial statements that you correctly mentioned, they came from a trio of ministers of the Maldives, and it clearly raised the tensions they have. They come in the wake of Prime Minister's push on social media for tourism in Lakshadweep that stands in strong competition to Maldives. But do you think, in your opinion, in the time being, do you see Indian tourism as the bigger beneficiary of this row?
I am afraid I will not be able to comment on that. I think that has to come from the Indian tourism industry. What you're implying is that if the tourists don't go to, Indian tourists, if they don't go to Maldives, they will come to Lakshadweep. Maybe, probably they will. But that is not the point here. From my point of view, as a diplomat, the tourism, domestic tourism is important. International tourism is equally important, but they will take their own time and they will develop as the time goes by. There were people going
But
to
Ambassador
Lakshadweep
Goel,
even before.
I ask
Yes.
you this because it is tourism that is at the heart of the current stage of relations between India and Maldives. How effective is that card going to be for India if it needs to kind of create that balance in the Indian Ocean and the kind of diplomacy it's followed in the neighborhood?
That is precisely what is happening here. Making Maldives realize that a large part of its economy, which depends on tourism, and that Indian tourism is an important part of that economy, and that they cannot ignore that part really while dealing with India. So I think that realization has to go through, but there has to be balance, as I said before. That balance will come as the time goes by. Uh, I'm certain that, like President Muizzu has already fired the three ministers who made those comments. So this realization will go through, but eventually, how the relationship balances out, how India and China in the dynamics of Maldives they come to balance each other out is yet to be seen.
For the time being, is on that 5-day state visit to China. As far as India's diplomatic moves are concerned, would it be in India's interest, according to you, to try and douse the flames arising from this present controversy? And of course, the understanding that he's come to power on a pro-China plank. As far as India's moves are concerned, here on, when it comes to relations with Maldives, what do you expect it to be and what would you suggest they should be?
I think we have to wait for some more time. Too early to say that douse the flames. I think give it some time, and I'm sure that the relationship is going to begin to come to a quieter tempo. As far as China is concerned, there have been certain remarks from the tourism industry in India that we should be careful that our share of tourism in Maldives does not go to China, and that China does not begin to be the preponderant power in Maldives again. I don't think Chinese power in Maldives will depend entirely on Maldives. There are many other factors which actually go to constitute the relationship. Tourism is only one part of it. Similarly, even if there is an impact on the India tourism in Maldivian economy, that's only one part of it. There is a whole lot of strategic calculus which actually is going to determine the relationship. And it's just one way to make them realize how important the Indian relations is. I think we should wait now after what the situation has developed in this manner.
We'll keep watching more developments and we'll keep checking in with you for your take on developments as well. Mr. Goel, it's always a pleasure getting in your perspective. Thanks very much for joining us on Business at 9.